Yes guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Now the future for Arsenal is going to be very exciting. According to SR Collins, Arsenal have already started planning out the summer transfer window. However, the players we're going to try to sign in this summer are going to be absolutely very different. We're going to be going for the world class. We're going to be going for the players that Arsenal can rely on to deliver. We're talking about Joshua Kimmich. We're talking about players like Viktor Gyökeres, and we're also talking about players like Martin Zubimendi. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well, because this could be Arsenal's future. Imagine an Arsenal where you have Joshua Kimmich, where you have Viktor Gyökeres, you have Martin Zubimendi, and you have all these exciting talents in the same team. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to put together a couple of names that Arsenal are going to be focusing on, and why I think some of these positions that we're looking at in the summer are quite very, very important. So according to SR Collins, Arsenal have already started making moves and making plans for the summer transfer window, with both Mikel Arteta and Edu having a clear vision of what is needed. The club will target a top-level forward and a midfielder as well. They will also target a new defender and are likely to go in the market and sign a new goalkeeper. So those are four positions where Arsenal are really interested and are very, very eager to upgrade. We want to get in the midfielder. Obviously, we'll talk about the departure of Thomas Partey and the departure of Mohamed Elneny and players like Albert Samuel Lokonga. But most importantly as well, the need for a forward. That is going to be addressed this summer, according to SR Collins. Arsenal are well aware Edu and Mikel Arteta are planning to sign a striker. On that note, I want this video to get to 300 likes. I've also done a very interesting video about Martin Odegaard and why I think he's the most complete midfielder in football right now. So if you want to watch that video, head over to Costas Arsenal Podcast and look or search for Martin Odegaard better than Mesut Ozil, or you can search for Martin Odegaard, the Madrid reject who actually became unstoppable and world class at Arsenal. You will be able to watch that video. It's quite very interesting. Please give it a watch. So let's dive into it. According to SR Collins, Arsenal are looking at four major positions. We are looking at the forward, and I put together a number of names that Arsenal are really prioritizing in the market. For strikers, we are also looking for another attacker. So that could be a winger. The likes of Brahim Diaz have been linked with Arsenal. The likes of Pedro Neto have always been in the news, for Arsenal quite some time. We are looking at two new goalkeepers. One, of course, one goalkeeper is sufficient enough for the summer, but Arsenal having two goalkeepers at the moment on their list and another midfielder. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the strikers, because that is where the major focus for Arsenal is right now. Who are we going to sign in terms of a number 9, and what kind of qualities are we looking for? So in terms of strikers, I have four names. We have Viktor Gyökeres, who in my opinion is one of the really exciting ones. There is Victor Osimhen, Ivan Toney, and Oli Watkins. Of course, Arsenal have been linked with a couple of other strikers out there. But right on doing this list, I thought about three things. I thought about a striker that is really available for the summer, a striker that makes Arsenal really much better and puts us in a much better position, but also a striker, in my opinion, who will score the goals right from the start. Now, we already have the likes of Eddie Nketiah, and we know players for development. That's not what you're looking for. We have the likes of Gabriel Jesus. We are not looking for a striker that can do the donkey work. We are actually looking for a striker that can complete the work after we have done the donkey work, right? So for me, let's start off with Viktor Gyökeres. I think apart from the release clause, which is 100 million euros, that's around 85 million pounds. He's one of the players that are really realistic in my opinion. He's good. I like him. And I know many Arsenal fans really like him out there. I don't see a reason, if the price is right, I don't see a reason why Arsenal shouldn't sign him. I don't see a reason why Arsenal shouldn't be fighting and dying for his signature. Now, he's one of the players that will have, competition, on them. I think Chelsea will be in there. I think Man United could be in there. I think clubs like PSG, after losing the one and only Kylian Mbappe, will try to sign Viktor Gyökeres, and we know they have the money. But Arsenal are really attractive at the moment. They are really, really in a very good position, and I think Mikel Arteta, it's a matter of getting his phone, calling Viktor Gyökeres. He's Swedish, so I don't know how Swedish sound like, but I think the conversation would be like, hey, Victor, this is Arsenal, this is Mikel Arteta, and we are looking for one competent striker to complete our team. Are you ready for the next step? I think that is what the conversation would be like, and I think Victor Gyökeres would say yes. I think he would be open to joining this Arsenal side. Now, according to reports, Arsenal leading the race to sign Victor Gyökeres, and of course those reports are not very reliable because they are majorly Arsenal based. But what is interesting and what is important here is that he is one of the strikers that are really in form, and he is a striker that ticks the boxes when it comes to the profile that Mikel Arteta and Edu are looking for a striker. So Victor Gyökeres is number one. Number two, in my opinion, is obviously Victor Osimhen, who also has a release clause of £100 million, 130 million euros. But I think with Victor Osimhen, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him as a player. We know that there is an agreement between him and Napoli that he will be allowed to leave in this summer. But the price for me is not right. The price is a little bit high. I think Osimhen is in the same level in terms of pricing. He is at the same level as players like Kai Havertz. 65 million to 85 million. That is where I would rank him. But of course, the striker market right now is really heating up. Heating up. I think many clubs are going to be looking for strikers, and Victor Osimhen is really up there among the priorities for many clubs. Now, Arsenal have looked at him for quite some time. I won't be surprised for Arsenal to go out there and splash the cash on that one guy, but I won't be surprised if Arsenal not even mind him, if Arsenal don't even talk about him in this coming summer. So Osimhen is one other player that I would love to see at Arsenal, but the price has got to be right. There are two from the Premier League. Ivan Toney, who of course was the key topic in January, him coming back and of course scoring a couple of goals. I don't think he has really impressed me ever since coming back from that ban. But I would love to know what you guys think about him. Is he much better ever since he came back from the ban, or has he not impressed you that much? I want to know your opinions. But Ivan Toney, again, if the price is right, we might be able to get him. Is he the kind of striker that's going to elevate us to the next level? There is a question there. But signing Ivan Toney would be a statement signing. And I said it in January, that if Arsenal signed Ivan Toney in January, he would have been a massive statement signing. So I won't be surprised to see Ivan Toney at Arsenal. The same goes with Ollie Watkins. It's a difficult deal for me for Ole. He is in life-changing form at the moment at Aston Villa. They like him there. He likes the place. He's got a good deal. And I think with Aston Villa, they're not a poor side, and they're not desperately looking for, financial reinforcements. And even if they wanted to sell, I don't think Ollie Watkins is one of the players they're really going to sell right away. I think the likes of Douglas Luiz command more interest from clubs like Man City and Arsenal as compared to Ollie Watkins. Again, Watkins is a player that Mikel Arteta likes a lot, is a player that I really understand, and if Arsenal signed him, I wouldn't really have a problem. I wouldn't really think he's a bad signing. So Ollie Watkins is another striker that Arsenal could have come the season 2024-2025. So of all those four strikers, let me know in the comment box below. Who do you think Arsenal should sign and why? In my opinion, I would still go with, out of all of them, I would still go with Victor Gyökeres. For the right price, I think Victor Gyökeres is on fire. And if they don't overprice him, Arsenal can get him, and we could get a very good line leader. Now, in midfield, Arsenal obviously are looking at a couple of options. You can look at that thumbnail right there. Arsenal looking at, Joshua Kimmich and, of course, Martin Zubimendi. So let's dive into who is the better player and better fit for Arsenal, especially when we talk about and think about the future. Number one for me is Joshua Kimmich. We have already gotten the story from Germany that Bayern will be willing to sell him in the summer should the price be right. And of course, we know that the player is considering only 5 clubs, and one of those clubs is Arsenal FC. So the beauty about this deal is that the player wants Arsenal, and Arsenal are in the market for a player of that profile. The question is how much we are willing to spend and whether we really like Joshua Kimmich. I mean, we would be stupid not to like Joshua Kimmich. We would be mad to turn down Joshua Kimmich. He is one of the best players in defensive midfield, but also in in midfield build up as well. So with Joshua Kimmich, I think Arsenal get pedigree, and I've said this before on the channel. We get pedigree, we get experience, and we get a versatile guy. This guy, together with Declan Rice, that is going to be the peak of football. That will remind us of one of the best midfields we have ever seen. You know, Odegaard, Kimmich, and Rice is equal to Iniesta. I'm sorry to say this, but it's equal to Iniesta, Xavi, and Sergio Busquets. Maybe, listen, Xavi, Sergio Busquets, and Iniesta might be a little bit advanced in terms of technical ability, but in terms of the Premier League and modern football right now and what the modern game requires, I think that midfield is much better than Xavi, Iniesta, and Sergio Busquets. So Kimmich to Arsenal is on, and we are waiting. I'm desperately waiting to see what kind of updates are we going to be getting when, you know, all this actually comes down, when everything becomes, you know, a little bit clear. Have Bayern decided to sell finally, and where is he going to go? Is it going to be Madrid? Is it going to be Man City? I want to see whether Arsenal are going to try to bid for Joshua Kimmich and whether we can try to agree a deal for the German international, who for me is one of the best defensive midfielders again in the world right now. The other player obviously is Martin Zubimendi, and with Martin Zubimendi, if Arsenal gets him, quite exciting a talent, isn't he? Now, he's a player that Mikel Arteta has followed for some time. Edu and Mikel Arteta have done their background work, and they think he is the guy to take us to the next level. Now, Partey is going to be leaving. Mohamed Elneny is going to be leaving as well. I think Albert Samuel Lokonga, it's time for that guy to leave Arsenal and find somewhere else where he can play football more consistently, because he deserves the minutes. We have seen him at Luton. He is not that bad of a player. So if Arsenal are losing around 3 defensive midfielders, potentially 4 if Jorginho doesn't decide to stay, we might need a younger profile, a more reliable profile, but also someone who actually understands the job that Mikel Arteta poses for them. That could be Martin Zubimendi. He's playing at Real Sociedad. He's baby Busquets, you know, by initials, and that shows you that he's one of the players that everyone out there thinks he is good. He's the next Busquets. He's the next Rodri. And he's the next Koke. He's the next Partey. And he's the next big thing in defensive midfield. My problem with Martin Zubimendi, and this could be my own fare, is coming from La Real and coming from Spain. Is he going to be that kind of guy that is able to take that massive step like Odegaard did, or is he going to need some time to develop, maybe a year, maybe 2 years? I'm really, stressed about that, but I don't want to be stressed about that in this video, because it's all about talking the future of Arsenal Football Club. Still in midfield, Arsenal interested in, of course, Douglas Luiz is another player that Arsenal have looked at for quite some time, and another player that I would love Arsenal to sign if the price is right. However, at the moment, he has signed a new deal at Aston Villa, and that only means one thing. If Arsenal want to sign him, they're going to have to pay over the top. I don't want that. I don't really prefer that. I prefer Arsenal to sign players at the right price. But Douglas Luiz, for me, he's more like a Jorginho. And the more he gets older, the better he becomes. He's becoming like fine wine. At 28, 29, I won't be surprised to see this guy as one of the top elite players. And again, he's another player that I won't be surprised to see getting his debut and getting his most important years for Brazil at 28, 29, 30. I could be wrong. I could be right. Lastly on this list is Amadou Onana, who, of course, the big man Charles Sports has said he is one to keep an eye on. Now, my problem with Onana is I'm not really sure where he plays when he joins this Arsenal side. Like box to box, and then Declan Rice sits in. Does he sit in and Declan Rice keeps that box to box role? I want to understand what Mikel Arteta really sees when he thinks about and when he sees Amadou Onana, because what he does for me is more like an 8/10 at Everton. I'm not really convinced about him, especially with, not about his ability, don't get me wrong, but with the systems Arsenal play, unless we're going to see a switch in systems next season. But Amadou Onana, want to keep your eyes open about. Now, of course, Ramsdale is going to be leaving and Arsenal will be looking for a new goalkeeper in the market. We have two options right on my list, and this is two goalkeepers that Mikel Arteta is really interested in. One of them is the goalkeeper from Las Palmas, and that is Alvaro Velez. He's a Spanish international who's got the ability to play out from the back, and that is a key component for Mikel Arteta. The other player plays in the US for Columbus Crew, and is called Patrick Schulte, or Schulte, depends on how you want to pronounce it, but for purposes of this video I'll call him Schulte. And those two are going to be coming in as understudies to Aaron Ramsdale. I think this is going to solve the goalkeeping situation at Arsenal. Mikel Arteta knows that if you want to get harmony in the goalkeeping department, you can't keep two world-class goalkeepers at competing for each other and with each other. And of course, the position is one, and Mikel Arteta doesn't have the strength and the balls to rotate each of them every single time. So at the moment, it looks like Patrick Schulte or Alvaro Velez will be joining Arsenal in the summer to fill the boots of Aaron Ramsdale, who is going to be leaving. Now, Arsenal also looking at a winger, and probably winger stroke another attacker for for purposes of backing up Bukayo Saka. We might have a couple of departures in Emile Smith-Rowe and probably Reiss Nelson. So Arsenal will be looking at another attacking player this summer. Pedro Neto has been heavily mentioned alongside the transfer targets for Arsenal as one of the key targets, but again, he's picked up another injury. He's very injury prone. I like him, but I don't think he's the guy Arsenal should be signing. Another player is Brahim Diaz, who will cost around 60 million euros or pounds. I'm not really sure if this is like a deal that Arsenal should do. I just don't feel it. But we'll talk about Brahim Diaz in an extensive video. Marcus Rashford and Nico Williams are also players that Arsenal have considered signing in wide areas. So the future for Arsenal is definitely interesting. We already have some interesting names right out there, and adding Kimmich, adding Victor Gyökeres, adding a world-class striker, it's going to be advantage Arsenal in the coming years. If you've not watched this video, Madrid Reject Who Became World-Class, it is right now live on Courses Arsenal podcast. Go and watch it and see why Martin Odegaard is much better than all the midfielders that have played for this Arsenal side before.